Good evening, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing another video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know. This is going to be a reaction to a video I just saw on YouTube, and I'll link that video in the description here, where the question is asked about mathematics, whether it is discovered or invented. And the speaker is a self-titled math philosopher, a woman, and she's I didn't honestly make it through the whole video, but she uses some terms, and I want to chime in here a little bit because I think I have some experience with mathematics. I do actually have experience. I don't think I do, but she mentions a few things such as the different perspectives, and she favors one over the other as far as the answer to the question in the title goes. She calls them Platonism, which is analogous, and in my understanding, to subjectivism in terms of philosophy. And then she says the other form is minimalism, or no, excuse me, nominalism, she says, which is synonymous with objectivism. So there's subjectivism, which is Platonism, and nominalism, which is objectivism. It doesn't really matter. You don't need to keep all that straight, but I will explain what I mean by that. She's saying that mathematics is, according to some theories and theorists, very real. That is to say, it has objects that are consistent, and they are real because they are self-consistent and predictable and reliable. And that's the basis for their reality. And she says that there's other perspectives. She does acknowledge that, but she favors the perspective that they are real as symbols. And I want to mention, I've actually already mentioned this in other videos, but I'm going to reiterate, there are two universes at least. And one of them is the physical universe in which we presumably habitate as humans, the shared reality, physical reality between us. And then there's the universe of the hypothetical. And there are things in that universe such as mathematics itself, ideas, all ideas actually, perfection. There are classes. There are classes like groups of things that you can classify. There are absolutes, and these things that I just listed off only exist in the universe of the hypothetical, including all of mathematics. So how does it connect? This is going to be hopefully a brief video. How does it connect with our physical reality? Because obviously, things in this world, in this actual universe, defy quantification potentially. So there are obvious practical applications of mathematics where these ideas, however theoretical, can have powerful influences over our actual lives, our physical lives. So the question, it really is, how do we connect these two universes? In what ways do we do it? Well, we do it with data, we do it with measurements, and it turns out, speaking of measurements, all of mathematics concentrates on basically two things, and that is predictions and measurements. So what you're doing, when you're doing math, you're doing predictions and measurements, either in a large form or on a very granular scale. You're measuring and predicting, such as, if you're counting, let's start simple with arithmetic. Let's say you have 5 apples, right? Well, you're predicting that in the next frame or the next moment, there's going to still be 5 apples. At the very least, you're making a prediction about how many apples you have. But in reality, obviously, I'm going to make an example. Sometimes apples will be bifurcated, just at birth or whatever, apple birth, where you have 2 conjoined apples, which is that 1 or 2, I don't know. And it gets ambiguous. In reality, things are not clean and hard-edged like they can be in that universe. So it's a hard question to answer, and it depends on your definition, really, of what is real. Is it real? Are fictional characters and subjects real in a book? It's a fictional book. Consider a novel, like a fantasy novel, where you have wizards and goblins and stuff. Within the narrative, you can have real things in that context, but in the greater context of our reality, those things are only hypothetical. They're just ideas. And the same is true for every part of mathematics. It doesn't actually exist. You can't hold a number in your hand. You can hold a symbolic representation. You can hold a screen in your hand. You can hold a piece of paper with a number written on it, or like a wooden cutout of a number, but those are only symbolic. They aren't actual numbers. The numbers themselves don't live here. Mathematics doesn't live here, but we can connect with it through screens. And that's an interesting branch to a different subject, which is kind of scary, actually. If you think about it, your screen, especially now with AI being a data-driven system, you are interacting with aliens through your window on your device. They are now intelligent, and they're speaking to you from that universe, from a whole different universe. The universe of the hypothetical, where anything goes. They are not limited by conventional limitations, physical limitations, and they are talking to you now through your window. It's an interesting idea that these aliens are appearing everywhere you have a screen, and you're never going to see them anywhere else. Where have you seen AI except on a screen? Be honest. All right, so anyway, don't mean to freak people out, but there's a lot to talk about as far as AI goes, and mathematics as far as being discovered or invented. To finally answer that question, because I don't think I have yet, it is both. All right, so there's branches, whole giant branches of mathematics, which are hypothetical within hypothetical. They are contingent, as they say, on presupposed stuff that may or may not even be true. And we say, well, if this is all true, and we're going to assume that it is, then we can step up onto that and form this entire new branch and explore it and develop it. And this is most of mathematics at this point. So all that stuff is definitely invented. It's somebody can claim ownership of some algorithm or formula that they worked hard on and that nobody else has thought of. But as far as the elements, the basic building blocks of mathematics, I would call that public domain. Just like you have ordinary public domain content such as nursery rhymes and classical music and stuff like that. That's most of mathematics, like the foundation of it is public domain stuff. But you could probably have your own formula if you worked really hard at it. If it was useful and helpful, put your name on it. Why not? Reach out with questions or comments to whitehotrobot@gmail.com and check out that other video if you have time. Thank you very much.